Everybody, one of my favorite people in the Cleveland sports media is sitting down with me today. He's an analyst and the senior producer on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Mike, my guy, thank you so much for joining me today. You just got back from vacation. How are you feeling after vacation? How was it?
Oh, it was amazing. What's up, Maliq? I went to Italy with my family for 10 days. We had a family wedding over there that we turned into a week-long vacation. I've been to Europe but never to Italy before. Would highly recommend it. But let me tell you, after eating like a normal American and exercising like a normal person for 30 years of my life, to go over there for 10 days and completely get out of the routine, get out of everything you've ever done. They don't exercise. All they eat is pastries and pasta, and pizza. It was incredible. But I am feeling it. It's going to take me another week before I'm back into the swing of things, man.
But we always need some cheat time when it comes to what we eat. I know you're a really fit guy, too, so I'm glad you got a little break. Mike, so we call you Mike McNuggets. So this isn't my formal first question, but I just want to ask you, because it says in your Twitter bio that Joe Thomas gave you the name.
He did.
But, yeah, how did that come to be? Why did he give you that name?
So on the third UCSS ever, this was before we even had the producer camera working. So I was just like the voice of God in the show. We were doing a segment with Joe. He's from Wisconsin, and we were ranking our favorite cheeses. And I said my favorite cheese was pepper jack cheese, which I didn't think was that controversial unless you're from Wisconsin. And Joe Thomas takes his cheeses very seriously. And basically, without ever seeing me, all he knew was my name from the email where I sent him the link was, he said, what a basic answer from, I don't even know who I'm talking to. What's his name? Mikey McNuggets or something? And literally like that, Maliq, it was born. 3 days into the show, producer Mike is the most forgettable name in the history of humanity. McNuggets is a lot catchier. It sticks a lot better. I'm not from Cleveland. So it was a nice way to get some name brand recognition immediately. And 3+ years later, it has kind of stuck, and even when I'm out in public now, people come up to me, "What's up, McNuggets? Love the show. How you doing?" And I've kind of embraced it. It's childish, but sometimes childish works.
Whenever somebody calls you McNuggets, I'm just like, it sounds so normal just because it's what we call you at this point. But at the same time, you're like, it's untraditional, but it just fits. Now, you mentioned the start of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. I just want to dig deep back into its roots and kind of ask you, how did the idea of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show come to be? Because it's a really unique show. Like, you're gathering the biggest media members in Cleveland sports on a one show. So how did that idea really come about, and how involved were you into the beginning of it?
They're two separate things. I'll try to combine it. When I was working in College Station, Texas, before I moved to Cleveland, I was working for a company called TEGNA, which owns the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show now. It owns 60+ TV stations across the country. And on one of their monthly sports calls, the head sports director of the entire company basically said something along the lines of, we want to increase our digital footprint in the sports world. We want to start a digital sports show. Keep it on the back burner. We don't really have a timetable. We don't really have a plan. Just know that it's something coming in the future. As soon as that Zoom ended, I emailed the sports director and said, Sean, I don't know what it is I want in. I want to be part of this. I thought the traditional media, standing in front of a camera at 6 p.m. and 11 p.m. to give you the highlights, it was over. No one was waiting till 11:15 to see what happened in the Cavs game. Or no one was waiting to 6 o'clock to see the Browns highlights. That's what Twitter's, you know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to get into the digital space because I saw that's where the future of the industry was going. And fast forward about 18 months, the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show was born. What people don't know is in that time process between the initial, we want to expand on the digital sports side, and launching the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, is the fact that the entire project was supposed to be in Dallas. It was supposed to be the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show. I had signed on to be the producer of the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show. And then after I signed my contract, Dallas, or at least the station at Dallas, got sold to another company, and it was going to pivot. And Steve Becker, who's the first employee on the project, called me and was like, "Hey, Mike, it's not in Dallas anymore. We don't know where it's going. Stand by." Right now, or in that moment, I'm freaking out because I just quit my job. Like, I'm ready to move to Dallas. I'm already looking at apartments, Maliq, and it's like, okay, well, this could go somewhere cool. This could go somewhere terrible, but I don't really have a plan B because I've already quit and, basically fully committed to this project. It ended up being in Cleveland, so I had never been to Ohio in my entire life. Said, you know what? I already committed to a pilot. Let's see if it works. If it doesn't, I'll go figure out what happens next then. Came to Cleveland, and right as we launched the show, to the Deshaun Watson suspension happened, the Donovan Mitchell trade happened, and the Guardians went on a playoff run. We couldn't have asked for a better event or a better turn of events to lead us into a brand new show launching. We got lucky. We were in the right place at the right time, but we would not have had the success we have today in a market like Dallas. We got incredibly lucky that we started in a market like Cleveland that had this Deshaun Watson saga, that had this blockbuster NBA trade, that had a playoff baseball team right off the bat, that drew interest to us. In terms of like the creation of UCSS, I got to give Steve Becker, executive producer Steve, the majority of the credit on that. He was the mastermind behind the premise. I'm more in charge of the day-to-day, what we talk about, how we get into conversations, but Steve Becker was the one that kind of put together the panel, put together the idea of what the show was going to be. He hired me, and then I kind of filled in the rest.
That is absolutely crazy. Like, the fact that you mentioned that it was about to be the ultimate Dallas sports show. Like,
we shot a pilot. Maliq, the pilot was of Dallas. I'll send you the clips afterwards, but legit, the pilot was shot in Dallas.
That is nuts. That's crazy. Because you mentioned not wanting to kind of be within the conventional space anymore when it came to sports media, and how you felt like the direction you were going in and like where you are now, like this is what you want to do. And I remember when I came to you guys' set a couple months ago, and I was just sitting, I'm like, dang, I said it on the video too, like this is the most comfy, like unconventional style, professional setup for a sports media gig that I've ever seen. So when it comes to you guys' set, like it's a very unique set. Did that kind of embody and play into, okay, we want to be more relaxed, we want to be more what people can come to see in the new day?
Yes, and I'm going to pull up, this could be crazy for you, Maliq, and I know this is not the greatest TV, and I'm going to show you a picture through a Zoom, but I'm going to show you the initial rendering of what we first had an idea of the set looking like. And this came about, and you ready for this? I don't know if you can see it great, but this was a digital rendering of what we had hoped to turn the UCS set into. Once again, I know it's not crystal clear, but we wanted to create some sort of man cave basement-like setting and bring viewers into our basement and make them feel like they were just hanging out with us, make them feel like they were part of the conversation. And to do that, you need to set it up like a basement. We didn't want to be behind a news desk. That's essentially what I was trying to leave when I left Texas. And that's what Jay Crawford left when he left ESPN. And Bull and G. Bush, Tyvis and those guys, they have more of a radio background, but we wanted to make it as comfortable, as relaxing, and as casual as possible while still being entertaining and informative. So there's a fine line and a fine balance between doing it. I think you can go overboard at times, and I think sometimes we even slip into that gray area that might be a little too casual. I don't love seeing the dudes in shorts, but it is 95 degrees out, so sometimes I got to let that slide. But I also think if you want to hear your friends talk sports, or if, you and your buddies are in the barber shop or wherever hanging out, shooting, going back and forth on stuff, you're not in suits. Like, we wanted to be the people. We wanted the people to feel like they were part of the conversation. We wanted to make them feel like they were welcome. And I think we captured that pretty well with the set we put together.
Yeah, absolutely. I just remember going down there. Of course, I had seen it on YouTube before. I actually have a funny story to tell before I get to that.
Shoot, yeah.
I started my YouTube channel in 2018, and you guys started in 2021, right?
22.
Okay. Yeah, so I had been doing my YouTube channel for about 4 years, and granted, I was young. I wasn't doing like too many great grand things with it, but I had like just crossed the 1,000 subscribers threshold, and my name was The Ultimate Sports TV. And as soon as you guys came out with the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, I was excited because I liked the idea of what it was about to be. but I was like, dang, I gotta change my name now. It's funny, Mike, because every time I would search up my channel name,
Will we pop up?
you guys would pop up either right ahead of me, which is the craziest thing, or right below me. So, yeah, you guys forced me to pivot in terms of like what my channel name is. Obviously, my channel is named after myself now, which is, I'm glad it turned out that way. So, I guess thank you guys for allowing me to pivot.
Could I give you a little
time,
backstory on the name real quick, Maliq? Because I think you'll find this funny.
Yeah.
That was the hardest part of the whole project. Seriously, the hardest part of the whole project. We went back and forth between no less than 85 different options for the name of the show. And full disclosure, when it came time to officially vote, I hated the name Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. I thought it was cheesy. I didn't think it encapsulated what we were trying to be. I thought it was generic. I thought it was bland. I didn't like it. UCSS, that doesn't roll off the tongue. And I got outvoted, obviously. And that is obviously the name of the program now. And it's grown on me. And for a bunch of different reasons. It's easily searchable, which, to your point, is half the battle on YouTube. You could switch out Cleveland for any city you want. You know, the goal at the end of the day is to expand this project to other cities. There is an Ultimate Dallas show now, ironically. There is an Ultimate New Orleans sports show. We're hoping to get to even more markets, but it's easy to switch out the city and keep the branding the same throughout. And last but not least, I actually went back a couple weeks ago and looked at some of the name suggestions that were not selected. They were even worse. Like, I was so gung-ho, like, we're launching this new show. It has to have the perfect name. To this day, I don't know what the perfect name is, but I think the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show is a lot closer to being that perfect name than anything else that we had contemplated, man. We threw around some bad ones, Maliq, and think.
Can you give me two? Can you give me two that you guys
I voted
had?
for the Land of Sports was the one that I ended up voting for, which it's just that's so boring. Like, the Land of Sports. In my mind, I'm like, Cleveland, the land of sports. And I'll text you. I'm not avoiding the question. I just I don't really remember one off the top of my head. There were so many, and they're all kind of similar. Like, the land, we did the Land of Takes. That was one. But then it turned out that it was voted down because it's like, well, the Land Before Time. And I'm like, okay, well, I see that. We don't want to be associated with the dinosaur movie. So the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show ended up working out. It ended up being the right name for the program. It just, in the moment, I wanted that. Bam! What a killer name. And then the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show didn't feel like that. Fast forward 3.5 years, 15 million views, and all the accolades later. It's worked out pretty well.
Yeah, and the name just fits because like I had said before, you guys are doing something that really hasn't been done before, especially in our area, where you're combining all of the biggest sports media names onto one set. Not all in one day, obviously, but just incorporating everybody. And I think that's the great thing about it. And because of that, like, the name, the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, just fits because it incorporates everything. So I say that to segue into my next question and ask, you know, do you feel like this show has created a different cohesiveness, a positive cohesiveness when it comes to, like, Cleveland sports media members? Do you feel like this show has had that type of impact?
In terms of show to show, person to person?
Both.
It's a good question. I'll say from our perspective, the biggest concern we had when we got everyone together for the first time, how's it going to gel? How's everyone going to mix together? Bull has been the lead radio guy for a dozen years. Now we're asking him to play a number 2 role behind Jay Crawford, who hosted First Take and Cold Pizza with Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith. So, of course, he's the natural host. And then you have guys like Jason and G. Bush, who had never really been on a full-time media show alongside 2 alpha dogs in Bull and Jay, and just in terms of their personalities. Are they going to be comfortable interjecting? Is Jay going to pass them the ball enough so we make sure we're getting our money's worth and them getting their value's worth on a show-by-show basis? Same with Tyvis Powell, who's blossomed into a budding superstar in the media realm since he joined the show. Tyvis is now on the Big Ten Network. He's now traveling the country with the Big Ten Network. He's a full-time radio host in Columbus. When we got Tyvis, He was doing fill-in spots on the radio and calling high school football games. In 3 years, he's become a star in his own right. And I think a lot of that is due to the exposure he's gotten from UCSS. And I'll never forget the first day of rehearsals we had. We rehearsed for like 35 minutes, give or take. And we had a topic about the difference in Trevor Bauer and his situation and how that was being handled by the media versus the Deshaun Watson situation, which was still very new and fresh, and how that was being handled by the media. And we intentionally threw basically raw meat into the lion's den for those guys for a first rehearsal just to see how they would react. And I remember leaving that session. There were so many technical issues and so many sound, lighting. Everything that could have gone wrong on the tech side went wrong. But the panelists and the conversation and everyone's willingness to interject and then sit back and let someone else go, it was kind of magical, Maliq. It was one of those things that I've been in the media long enough to know that's not very common. Like, no one was stepping on each other's toes, but no one was being too passive. No one was being too aggressive. And that, from the first rehearsal we had, was kind of the backbone of the show. In terms of other shows, and we don't really interact with a bunch of other shows. The radio station finally lets us go on 92.3 with them. We've never had someone from ESPN on. I don't think any of our guys have been on with ESPN. There's no bad blood or anything. It's just they kind of do what they do. We do what we do. But we've had guys from the radio on. We've been on the radio. Obviously, Bull helped build the station, so that helps. G. Bush and Earl, part-time host on The Fan. They're also hosts on UCSS. So I can't really speak to how it's made a more cohesive media realm in terms of outlet to outlet. But in terms of us, I mean, Jason Lloyd had never worked with G. Bush before. Now Jason Lloyd's at G. Bush's birthday parties. I didn't know any of these guys. And if I got married tomorrow, they'd all be invited to my wedding. So we've certainly made a tight-knit community. I'm just not sure if I could really give you a legitimate answer on how UCSS's implementation has mended the fence between The Fan and ESPN radio, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I got you. Now, listen, Mike, I complimented your backdrop before we started the show. Still love it. I mean, it's great. So, I mean, you're Cleveland out back there. But as you mentioned, you're not from here. You're not a natural-born Cleveland fan, but has your job. Yeah, New York. So you're a Yankees guy, too. I think you texted me that.
I'm not a big baseball guy, to be honest with you. But yes, technically speaking, I am a Yankees fan.
Yeah, so I mean, you're not a natural-born Cleveland fan, but has working here and being around the teams and talking about the teams, has it formed you to be kind of a Cleveland fan and, you know, prosper some love for the teams here?
Absolutely. There's nothing better for business than winning. And there is nothing more fun in our industry than covering a winning team. Like, covering the 3-14 Browns is miserable. What do you talk about? Oh, they suck. This guy sucks. That guy, like, it's miserable. It is so much more fun covering a winning team. And that's why I hate when you see random fans online say, oh, the media is so negative. Like, sure, there are people that always have a negative outlook on things. That's going to be the case in any situation, in any scenario, in any city, in any market across the country. But we all want them to win, Maliq. You know what the most fun month-long stretch we had in the history of UCSS? That December in 2023 when Joe Flacco went on that incredible run. Vibes could not have been higher. The Cavs in the regular season, granted it's the regular season, but when they're on 15, 16-game win streaks, you'll find all the little things to talk about when they're good. I'll do a Sam Merrill breakdown in game 13 of a 16-game win streak. Why? Because people care. Our job is to talk about things that people care about. When you're 3-14, nobody cares about the second quarter, 3rd and 14 D-line stunt that Jim Schwartz pulled out. Why? Because they lost 34-7. You know what I mean, Maliq? So yes, I want the Browns to win. I want the Cavs to win. I want the Guardians to win. Now, if the Browns play the Giants in the Super Bowl, would I want them to win? Let's get to that situation and we'll have that conversation then. They're two of the worst teams in football right now. I can't get out of my own way to watch better football. I watch two losing franchises. But no, we all want these teams to win. I want all the teams to be good. Winning football, winning basketball, winning baseball in Cleveland means more views, more sponsorships, and for me, more money. So yes, am I a diehard fan? No. Do I want all three of these teams to be as good as possible year in and year out? Absolutely.
So, I mean, with that being said, being some sort of a fan, that's great. But because you're not a diehard, when the Browns do hit their lows, maybe there's some disappointment from you because, like you said, you want to talk about good product. But does it hit a little less than it would for like a Browns fan who's like G. Bush? Like, does it hit a little less hard for you than it would for G. Bush? I feel like this is an obvious question, but
Yeah, but I think that's part of why UCSS works. If you have everyone in the G. Bush realm, then you just get an emotional reaction show. And there's validity to that. There's room in the media scape for just purely fan reaction. If you have everybody like me who's not emotionally attached whatsoever, well, then you lose the passion to it. When you're a fan, you lose some of the objectivity, some of the nitty gritty X's and O's. Why did they lose? When you're just like me watching the game from an analysis standpoint, you lose the emotion. You need the balance. You need the back and forth. And even a guy like Bull, who roots for the Bengals, one of the division rivals of the Browns. You pair him up with G. Bush and Tyvis, who live and breathe and live and die on every single play. So you get both sides at once. And when G goes overly emotional, you have Bull to keep him in check. When Bull is taking all the human emotion out of it, you have G and Tyvis to pull him back in. And I think there has to be a balance, whether it's the Browns, the Cavs, the Guardians, the Bengals, the Ravens, the Chiefs, whoever. It could be any sport. If everyone thinks the same way, you don't have a show. Imagine I asked the panel a question, Maliq. Are the Browns completely done for the season after they lose week one? If they lose week one, right? Or let's say they win week one. The Browns Super Bowl contenders now. If everyone just said, no. All right, next topic. We get through 80 topics in a show. There's no debate. But when you get G. Bush after week one when they win, say, "Ooh, boy, did you see what Joe Flacco did? Like, he can do that 3-4 times a season. Then we'll get Shedeur in here. Man, I thought they were going to be 6-11. Now I'm seeing 9-8." And then you have Bulls like, "Gee, you're out of your mind. What do you talk? It's one game. They always beat the Bengals in week one." You have to have that back and forth to create a show. So yes, how I view and how I analyze and how games impact me is very different than G, which is different than Earl, which is different than Jay and Bull and Jason, Tyvis, everybody. But that balance is what makes UCSS work.
From a personal standpoint, because we mentioned the cohesiveness from person to person that's been on the show that has really been brought out and alive. But for you, who is a guy that you feel you have grown the closest to while working on UCSS?
There's two. It's Bull and Jason. Well, it's Anthony and Earl, my two production guys. Those two by far, we work together 5 hours, 6 hours every day. But in terms of the guys on panel, Bull and Jason have become kind of my go-to to bounce ideas off of, partly because they're the only two that answer the group text. So by defact, they became the guys I started texting more. I'm still waiting on graphics from G. Bush from 6 months ago. And Dustin has never answered one ever. I love Dustin, but he's literally never answered the group chat when I asked for answers to topics the night before. So by default, those two became kind of my go-tos. But my first 2 years here, I wasn't able to go home for either Christmas or Thanksgiving for travel reasons. And Jason invited me over to his house and kind of brought me in. Bull did the same thing on a couple occasions when I was getting my feet wet here and just kind of getting accustomed to Cleveland. They kind of opened their doors and brought me into their families and helped me feel at home. You know, like I said, I moved here from technically Texas, but I'm from New Jersey. I'd never been in Ohio when I moved here. I didn't know a single soul. And those two, Bull first and Jason second, were the first to kind of be like, all right, you know, for this show to succeed, we got to get you comfortable. How can we make you comfortable? Let's help you get your feet wet. And those two, I owe a lot of my comfortability in Cleveland now to their generosity.
All right, let's pivot to talk some ball finally. But the helmets came out. You might have gave your opinion on this on the show already, but what are your thoughts on the new helmets for the Browns?
Okay, I have a lot. So this is going to be long, and I apologize. If you hype something up as much as the Browns hyped up the helmet reveal, it has to be a banger. Like, it has to be a home run. I thought it was fine. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's great. I just think it's okay. It's really hard, in my opinion, to make the Browns colors look cool. It's brown and orange. There's a reason no other team in professional or collegiate sports have the colors of brown and orange, because it's tough. Even LeBron, an Akron kid, I know he's technically a Cowboys fan, but like, Do you ever see him wearing Browns gear? Do you ever see any random person just rocking a random Browns hat? It's not bad. It's fine. I just hate when you overhype something, you leave me disappointed. And people from around, I tweeted that out and people got mad at me. They're like, there wasn't that much hype. Okay, they tweeted about it for 4 days in advance.
There was definitely.
They put a helmet on a lake and floated it in.
Yes.
They unveiled the helmet on Pat McAfee's show. And then there was the whole reveal on the lake with the video guy falling into the river.
The falling.
And here's my issue, Malik.
Uh-huh.
The Browns had nothing to do with that. That was a organized. It's come out that it's been fake. It was staged. It was all Dude Wipes. Dude Wipes is the one that organized.
Yes.
It is so embarrassing that a franchise that has one playoff win in 26 years now, that jokes write themselves to make fun of the Cleveland Browns, partnered with a butt wipe company and pulled off one of the stupidest stunts in the history of humanity. If it was organic, it's hysterical. The fact that it's staged just makes it look like a joke. It looks like Dude Wipes was making a joke out of the Browns by even thinking they could pull this off with their biggest sponsor. I mean, Dude Wipes sponsors the Browns, but like Dude Wipes' biggest sponsor. And it just tells you they think the Browns are a joke. So I hate it for the Browns because it's not even their fault. They had nothing to do with this. They were in the dark. But I think the helmets are fine. I think the stage video is embarrassing. And the Browns, if I was running the Browns, I would cut ties with Dude Wipes. I'm serious. I know they've been a great sponsor. I would completely cut ties because they made a joke out of Cleveland. They made a joke out of the Browns. Well, not Cleveland the city, but they made a joke out of the franchise. And there's already enough stuff to crap on the Browns about. You don't need a butt wipes company adding to it.
Exactly. That's what I was about to say. On top of the stuff that you just said, it's like knowing our history, knowing what we go through, knowing the ups and downs, knowing our team colors, like to partner with a butt wipes organization, it's just not the best marketing move. That's no shade to Dude Wipes. It's just
a great product.
Dude Wipes and the Browns.
Dude Wipes is a great product.
Yeah, great product, but it's not a great combination, especially for the Browns. For Dude Wipes, maybe not. Maybe they don't take too much of a hit with it. But for the Browns, I don't know how much of a smart marketing type deal that is for them.
Nah, I'm right there with you. The jokes write themselves, and sometimes, especially in the world we live in today where something happens and 23 minutes later it's old news on the Twitter sphere, man, you can't set yourself up to be ridiculed like they did. And this one, they had nothing to do with, Malik. That's the worst part. There's so many things we could rip on the Browns that is their own doing. This one was completely out of their hands, and maybe the worst one yet.
I feel like the helmet situation was kind of a double whammy because the fan base just seemed to be like totally turned on its side with the Quinshon stuff. Do you sense kind of the same thing right now? Like, during the offseason, I mean, we kind of knew that we weren't going to have too big expectations for this team, but with the Quinshon stuff, like, do you feel like the aura around the fan base kind of just go down a little bit?
Absolutely. Judkins, even though he was a rookie, was one of the very few things on this roster you felt excited about for 2025. Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, Jerry Jeudy, Njoku, and Judkins. I mean, I would say there was more excitement for Judkins than Mason Graham, who was a top 5 pick in the exact same draft class. He plays a less sexy position. The Browns lost Nick Chubb. This guy was heralded as the Nick Chubb replacement, and now he's unsigned, not with the team, and going through his own legal issues. It's also the 3rd, 4th, maybe even the 5th case of domestic violence by a player in this Andrew Berry regime, and this one is not along the same likes as Mike Hall, not along the same likes as Deshaun Watson, where Andrew Berry had prior knowledge of them having some questionable past. This Quinshon Judkins situation came out of the blue. There was no background, no vetting, nothing the Browns could have done to foreseen this coming. So yeah, I do think it took a little bit of the wind out of their sail because we're still in a 4-way quarterback battle, and you're not getting the answers you want because even as of today, Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco took the majority of the first-team reps. Shedeur Sanders only got a chance to play with the 3s. You don't have a running back you feel comfortable in. The defense, from all reports, is dominating the offense early on, and if you can't score, we just went through a season where the Browns had an anemic offense. We know how that went. So, yeah, I do think it took a little bit of the steam out of the sail, especially when even in the best case scenarios, there wasn't a lot of steam in the sail to begin with.
When we talk about what's going on in training camp right now and the four-way quarterback race, if that's what you want to call it, it doesn't really seem like a four-way quarterback race, but I mean, for the show, we'll say that's what it is. We've seen the quarterback tracker like stats that ESPN Cleveland has put out like since OTAs. Like, what is your opinion on that? Do you hold weight to that like some of these people are holding weight to it?
No. I respect ESPN Cleveland for doing it because it is great for clicks.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, J.J. Watt tweeted this out yesterday. He said it best. None of us have any idea what they're trying to work on in practice. Is it a blitz-heavy practice where the offense is at a disadvantage? Are they intentionally working on certain routes where Shedeur, Dylan, Kenny, Joe may have an open receiver, but instead they're waiting to get to their third read and then trying to squeeze it into the defense? There are so many little things in practice that go into that. Also, who decides which ones you're counting? Is it just the 7-on-7s, just the 11-on-11s? Is it just the on-airs? They're getting different reps. They're going against different teams. Gabriel is against the first team today. Shedeur is against the third team. Last week or in OTAs, they were both splitting reps with the second team. So there's so much context that I think you need to add to those stats that would be impossible to put on one graphic. I don't look into it whatsoever. The only number on that I think is important is the interceptions, because there is no scenario where the quarterback and the coach are ever saying, hey, on this play, throw an interception, Maliq. We don't know what they're trying to accomplish. We know what they're not trying to accomplish. That's turning the football over. Of all the four you see, the yards, the completions, the touchdowns, the interceptions, the only one to me that has any credence whatsoever is the INT column.
One final question, Mike.
Shoot.
As we round out this one, just a simple Browns ceiling floor prediction for this year. What's their ceiling record-wise? What is your kind of instinctual floor for them?
If everything goes right, if they get competent quarterback play, if the defense can stay healthy, I think the defense has a chance to be pretty darn good. If Quinshon Judkins can get his legal situation settled and get back before it's basically a loss for the season, jeudy and David and Njoku can play up to their standards. Plus, Cedric Tillman stays healthy. It's a giant boatload of ifs, Maliq. But if all that happens, I think the Browns could win 7-8 games, be around a 500 team. I just don't think they have enough juice in a loaded AFC with a really tough schedule to beat out some of the really good quarterbacks on a consistent basis. They'd have to in order to be in the playoff push. But I think they can be a competitive, frisky team that if everything goes right, they're around 500, 7, 8, 9 wins, best case scenario. But you just heard that. And I excluded about 15 ifs from the equation. If Dustin Hopkins bounces back as a kicker, if they can find some semblance of a return game, if their offensive line can stay healthy, and if DeJuan Jones takes a step forward, and if Jerome Florida, you get the point. Realistically, I think this is a 4-win team, 4 or 5-win team, somewhere in the range where they're picking in the top 5 next year and selecting a quarterback they truly believe can be their next franchise signal caller. They took Dylan Gabriel, they took Shedeur Sanders. If they believed either of those two, this is just my opinion, but if they believed either of those two could be the franchise of this face of this franchise in the future, they wouldn't be getting the third and fourth scraps in the quarterback rotation right now. If you have a rookie you believe in, those guys get moved ahead of the others. And through the first 3 days of camp at least, and throughout all of OTAs, Gabriel and Sanders have been the third and fourth guys up in the drills. That's not going to cut it in terms of their development, in terms of making a full evaluation. So my gut tells me, as much as excitement as I want to have about this team, I think 3, 4, 5 wins in a top 5 draft pick is a lot more realistic than being around a 500 team next year.
Appreciate that realism, Mike. Thank you so much for joining the show today. I love the conversation. I have to have you on again one of these days. Everybody, this has been Mikey McNuggets of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. This has been Maliq Hicks signing off. Peace out, and we'll see you on the other side. Peace.